Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, the 12th of January, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the greatest show on earth. Entering the new year from the exciting location of the Apex, Las Vegas. Isn't this place supposed to be shut? Oh well, for a fan base living through a period of MMA that's been drier than Los Angeles, we have to take what's offered, and that was Dern versus Ribas 2. So I'm your host, DangerMouse, back with episode 36 of the Weekend Roundup, reporting in from wintry Yorkshire Dales. I'm joined by all of our regular motley crew, but first, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'd better check in first with our favourite Californian colour commentator. His house isn't on fire, but I'm sure his opinions will be, with his burning love of MMA. So how's it going, Austin? You glad to be back to talk some fighting?
Yeah, I got to say, I've been antsy as these last couple of weeks. Although we did have a lot going on as a family, and then yes, my house is not on fire. I did talk to some friends and family that we knew of who are all doing well. My prayers and thoughts go out to everybody out in the Los Angeles County area that's dealing with this right now. But yeah, happy to talk about fights.
Glad to hear that. I would have had to change my script. And of course, my regular co host, he's over in Ohio, live and direct from his bed in the shed. He's our connoisseur of cannabis and combat. It's LazyBed. How we doing, mate? How's the weather over there?
I'm doing pretty good, A little bit under the weather, as seems to be the case for many people this time of year, but glad the fights are back and happy to be here.
Great. Yeah, I know. Trust an Englishman to talk about the weather when there are fights to talk about, right?
A worthy topic to discuss.
Yeah, different everywhere. With the location and names on this card, I was all ready to send the UFC to the seventh layer of hair. But goddamn it, instead of the damp squib I was expecting, we ended up with Fireworks Hill. So let's step into the fire with a main event that brought all the thirsty boys to the yard when Amanda Ribas took on Mackenzie Dern in a rematch. The previous time, Ribas took a unanimous decision over a Dern who was stepping into the cage having just had a baby. I had heard that Dern was back with Jason Perillo, and I did consider that maybe she might have improved her striking, but I wasn't convinced enough to pick her over Ribas. I think her striking did show some signs of improvement. She did make a little more use of kicks than I seem to recall from her previous fights. However, the striking was very much the secondary art in this particular fight. Both Dern and Ribas traded blows just until they could engage in a takedown. And then in round one, it was Dern who took top position and won the round solely via top control, no real damage being done. Round two, similar lines, very brief exchange of blows, followed by a takedown attempt that Ribas was able to reverse and ended up on top. Ribas by far more enthusiastic about trying to do some ground and pound damage. Dern's still happy to stay on her back and try and work her jiu-jitsu. Easy round to score for Ribas, although in the final minute, Dern did manage to grab back some control, and we ended up with that crazy reverse crucifix kind of thing for a moment. And somewhat baffling why Ribas chose to stay in that danger zone. She seemed a bit misguided about how her jiu-jitsu must compare to Dern's. I was all ready for 3 more rounds of the same, and it looked as if that was what we were going to get when Ribas, with a deadly head and arm throw, that is, as Bisping says, only works in women's MMA, also Jack's like. But Ribas ended up on top. 3 minutes into the round, Dern sweeps into position for an armbar, switched that into mount to land a little bit of ground and pound, distracted Ribas with a couple of elbows to the face. That allowed Dern to snatch the arm again, and she forced Ribas to tap for the first time in her career. And so, Austin, let's go to you first. I don't think any of us were too hyped for this fight, although you're probably going to prove me wrong now. But it did perform beyond our expectations, certainly mine. Luke Thomas is wetter than an otter's pocket about this fight. What did you think of Dern's performance? And do you think she looks to have improved in any significant measure? And normally I'd ask what's next for the fighters, but is it as simple as this, that this is a fight we're going to need to see again?
I it's weird to say, but yeah, I'm not going to say that just yet, mainly because this was just a kind of a filler main event. Mackenzie Dern, gets attention. Amanda Ribas definitely helps that. It's an Apex event where you can put fights that you aren't sure are going to be, how do you say, sellable. Uh, Put them at the Apex, right? And again, this was an unassuming card that ended up being a very, very, spectacular finished filled card. But no, this I was interested just because of where they were at in their careers. So to your point, yes, I was excited for reasons about their careers, not so much about the fight was going to look like. Um, because both of them, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, were coming off of losses, correct? And regardless of what Amanda Ribas' career was at flyweight, it seems that her record at strawweight has been pretty consistent. And the opposite end is Dern. She's kind of been flip flopping like a lot in her career. She does very well, and then she just abandons the thing that she does well, or she learns how to strike decently, and then learns how to not strike decently. She only concentrates on her jujitsu and the bad forms to lay on her back and possibly not do damage, or she's very on the money with how she looks to finish fights, and she gets a very um, favorable opponent in that sense. It's just we were looking at, okay, who's adapting better now? Because when we first saw the fight, like you had said, Dern was just coming off of having a kid, right? And Ribas was the new kid on the block. Like now it's just a matter of Ribas is literally trading wins and losses on a regular basis, and Dern is not too far behind that. Now we're at a point where it seems as though Dern is kind of settling in, thankfully, in her career, because we were all looking at it, okay, does Dern still have that ability to win fights, at a high level? This isn't a high level, but this was, necessary for her to advance in this division. She's done it several times where she gets on a win streak and then she loses. Ribas has been jumping back and forth because, in her own words, she says it's hard to say no to Mick Maynard, which is weird, but okay. I, it was more of a story of who's coming and who's going, and I believe Ribas is no longer at this level, unfortunately, which is an interesting statement because this division definitely needs names, but she's probably going to get an offer to go back to 25 and take it last minute and possibly lose again. She'll take another fight randomly at 15 and maybe win. Dern needed the win more than Ribas did, in my opinion, and Dern is a bigger name. Dern needed this win to stay in a title conversation in this division. And Dern, to her credit, she played to her skills, but didn't overreach, didn't overstep. She learned basic takedowns, which was nice. She adapted from getting a head and arm toss and then set up the arm bar beautifully. I mean, she did what she was supposed to do. Stay patient, stay consistent with your defense, and look for offensive moments and then win. Most importantly, win. And she gave me more hope that she is actually learning from her past fights, not to get overdrawn in a striking battle, but learning how to blend the actual different disciplines like we want these fighters to do. I'm happy with how this fight played out for Dern. It's never a great thing to see the kids. That's the cage side because that's always a questionable decision.
Yeah,
But hey, if it works for her, it works for her. If she's settling with Jason Perillo, God, hey, more power to her. We just need more of this consistency from her side of camp's decisions, and I'm excited to see her in another fight.
Cool. Yeah, and Lazy, what did you think of the fight? I guess in particular Ribas' performance, although Austin's just covered a little bit of that, I guess. Did Ribas just make a terrible misstep by allowing the fight to continue on the ground? Should she have been looking to separate, stand up more? I think she did have the edge in the striking, though we didn't see that much. And I guess, do we need to see the rubber match between these two? It's 1-1. Do we need to see the third one?
Oh man. Well, first for the rubber match, like, I don't think that that's really a necessity right now. I think, although I suppose somewhere down the line, He-Boss does deserve her chance at get back and a chance to right this wrong, I suppose. I mean, being 1-1, that's kind of good enough for me. I don't know if I necessarily need to see a third one. It's probably likely to happen just because it seems like rematches are a regular occurrence anymore, and especially in this division. But uh, no, I don't think that we need to see it anytime soon. And as far as did he boss make a mistake staying on the ground? I'm not so sure there either because he boss is pretty well versed in BJJ herself. I think they might have a past competing in BJJ or their fathers do something along those lines. Um, so I mean, she's not a fish out of water down there, but she definitely does have the advantage on the feet and far more polished and skilled striker. But it's just kind of one of those fights where it was just sort of flowing and going where it went. And I think that by the time she found herself caught in that armbar, she was already like deep into the Venus flytrap. There
Yeah.
wasn't much escaping that. Uh, all in all, though, I mean, it was a decent fight. It was a decent scrap. It was about what I was expecting from it. I did think it would go to decision. So having a finish was a pleasant surprise. But again, Mackenzie Dern is. I'm not gonna go as far as Luke went, like last night, completely fucking glazing her on his live chat, saying this was the greatest performance of her career. Maybe, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I can't really recall that specifically, but I didn't think she looked phenomenal, but she did look better than she did in her previous fight. And I think that really is kind of like Austin mentioned, the Jason Perillo effect. That's getting back with him. Even if it wasn't apparent in, say, like the striking, which Perillo's mostly known for, she just seems to be a more focused and a more driven fighter when she has him at the helm coaching her. So glad to see her back with him. Hopefully she sticks with him and she's got some behind the scenes stuff going on in her personal life from some rumors that I've heard. So seems like she fights well when she has turmoil going on in her life.
It's like Eminem raps better when he's angry.
Yeah, right. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't it be the first time a fighter does better under pressure?
Mm-hmm. Bisping was saying, Perillo's been saying that she's learning on the job, so I guess it's working.
Yeah. She said in the post fight show at the desk in the studio that he says that to her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bet he does. I bet you he does.
All right, we better move on to the next one. Santiago Ponzinibbio defeated Carlston Harris, sorry, via third round TKO, 3 minutes 13 seconds. Now, I am the self-proclaimed count of casuals, but I have a confession to make. I think for the first time in about 5 years, I had no clue who one of the fighters in this co-main was, and it wasn't Ponzinibbio. Everyone remembers that name. I looked at the card and I see Carlton Harris, and I think, who the fuck is that guy? Turns out he can throw some heat. Clipped Santiago with an awkward right hand that Cruz compared to being like putting soap in a pillowcase and swinging it at someone. Full Metal Jacket clip here, please, Dave. And if the round had gone on much longer, it might have been ashes to ashes for Ponzinibbio. But he hung on like the veteran he is, and he may not have started the fire, but he or at least the referee put out Harris's blaze. This, I think, I know we haven't talked about it yet, but I think this is a more controversial stoppage than the Curtis one. So what do we think, guys? Bad stoppage? Thoughts on the fight? Sorry, Lazy, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really think that the stoppage was terrible.
He's literally stopped him about a fraction of a second after he just swung a shot at
Yeah.
Ponzinibbio.
I mean,
Just thrown a punch.
it was a night sort of weird stoppages, I guess. But I mean, my biggest takeaway though wasn't really anything to do with the stoppage. It was just fucking Ponzinibbio, man. What a tough son of a bitch. Like
Yeah.
old
Mm-hmm.
as could be, has a life outside of fighting already. Like he's great on the Spanish commentary from what I've heard. Uh just an all-around good guy. Everybody behind the scenes has great things to say about him. Like, so this guy's basically set up to fucking ride off into the sunset if he wants to, but no, I mean, he wants to keep fucking fighting. He wants to keep throwing them things and fucking getting into wars, absolute fucking wars. Getting clipped several times in this fight, I believe dropped several times.
Yeah.
Um, still just marching forward. Absolute fucking badass, tough as shoe leather. Uh, and Carlson Harris, I mean, despite the record, you look at the record and you're kind of like, maybe this guy's not so great. Like, he's a pretty good fucking fighter. Like,
Oh yeah.
maybe doesn't have the best decision making or the best defense in certain scenarios, but I mean, the guy, he ain't afraid to get in there and fucking go for his. So, a surprisingly good fight, better fight than it looked to be on paper coming in for a co-main event. Like you mentioned, DangerMouse, not the most eye-popping names coming in, but
Dave on the Discord, I think it was, said I have to look forward to more of this.
And the one other thing that I did want to mention, just a random small thing. I believe it was in the first round. Carlston Harris punched Ponzinibbio directly in the back of the fucking head, and you could see it clear as day because he had blood on his glove. And when he punched him in the back of the head, it looked like a big red paintball splatter on the back of his fucking melon. So clearly a back of the head shot. Ref missed it, but Ponzinibbio complained about it at the end of the round. Maybe it didn't seem to have much effect. Some of the knockdowns throughout this card, I would like to point out that I think it was MMA Fighting post show. Maybe it was weighing in. I'm not sure which one, but they were talking about the mat seemed a bit slippery last night. It seemed like a lot of fighters were having some trouble with their footing and kind of losing their footing, off balancing at times more than usual. So uh, maybe take some of the knockdowns throughout the night with a grain of salt. But this was a knockdown, drag 'em out war, and yeah, it was a fun fucking fight. I'm happy for Ponzinibbio.
Austin, any words on this one?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to echo a lot of what Lazy said. First off, Carlston Harris is a man who has a win over a PFL, not this, he was a semifinalist in the season. Lazy, I don't know if you'll remember his name. um, it, I forget his name now, damn it. Damn it! He's on the roster. He's a light heavyweight. He was the man who was given a highlight reel knockout by Joaquin Buckley. Dear God, I can't fucking remember his name.
Impa.
Yes, thank you, Impa. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. I can literally see his face, cannot remember his name. Anywho, yeah, Carlston beat him at 170 pounds. Yeah, Carlston's not a bad fighter. He's not a elite fighter, and it showed. Realistically, he should have finished Ponzinibbio in the first round. An elite fighter gets rid of Ponzinibbio, right? Unfortunately, Pons' durability and old man willingness pretty much kept him in the fight. Like, good God, any other lesser fighter would have probably been finished. Some of those knockdowns and haymakers that were landing on him, including that punch to the back of the head, which I believe was accidental, but still not ideal. And he does this occasionally where he'll just he has no business winning and he'll win.
Yeah.
He's got this innate ability to just say, fuck it, we're going, right? We're fighting. I don't give a shit. We're going. And sometimes he wins and sometimes he loses. This time he just happened to win. And as far as the finish, I mean, that final sequence of strikes, as much as Ponzinibbio himself was slipping and falling, right, Lazy? he was landing pretty heavy on Carlston Harris. And honestly, you can't be mad at the way the fight was stopped because of it would have been the same in boxing. It doesn't matter that you threw back. It matters what your body language is saying, that you are not capable of surviving another hit, and I'm going to call it. the referee's job, and again, I'm probably going to have to say this later for this card. The job of the ref is to look out for the well-being of the fighter, right? He's not concerned about the clock. He's not concerned about what's being said in the corners necessarily.
There was no clock involved on this one. That wasn't.
This is going to be a thing that I have to reference later. So
I know.
we'll see. But yeah, no, I thought it was a fair stoppage. A little early, maybe. Probably like the next overall we're going to talk about, but still. I thought it was a great fight for Pons to show that he still has it. If he doesn't have a lifelong UFC gig after this, man, the UFC's fucking up. That's for sure. So, all right, hats off to Pons. Sucks for Carlson, but hey, it was a great fight. Can't ask for much more.
Cool. All right, Cesar Almeida defeating Abdul Razak Al Hassan, first round KO, 4 minutes 16. This was a bit of a back and forth starting round. Al Hassan landed that straight right that sent Almeida tumbling to the canvas, but he leapt straight up really quick. Al Hassan then kind of turned it round to the cage, started trying to finish the fight with a series of looping hooks, and then Caesar timed a left hook that must have had Powhatan clapping in appreciation, and he just sent Al Hassan to the land of wind and ghosts with that one. It was beautiful. I think this is a KO that makes early running for a KO of the year. Anytime we see a fighter stretched out for as long as Al Hassan was, that was a good one. So I guess it's Austin's turn. What do you want to say on this one?
Yeah, realistically, Almeida is playing that game of I'm going to let my chin get tested as much as it needs to, and then I am just going to count on my power just winning the fights. Not too dissimilar from Potan's game plan sometimes, but he's learning. There are limits to that. And you saw his survival instinct kicked in, and thank God he has this capability of just saying, fuck it, stand up. We need to get up. We need to move out. We need to find a way to get out of this lock, circle out of the cage. And sure enough, he's got his defense up. He's taking hits, and he has his instinct kick in for natural finishing ability. That is rare in a fighter. And he he's playing a little bit of a dangerous game, but he seems to be winning it against lesser fighters that play that game with him. And I mean, if he can continue to get away with it, my hats off to you, man. But like, you can't probably do that against the elite level fighters. And for Al Hassan, damn it, man, you can't do that. You can't leave your chin up in the air, swinging and banging hooks. Doesn't matter if you drop the son of a bitch. You can't do that against these guys. Because what happened? He literally didn't even throw the hook with all of his power. He literally just threw a floating little left hook that just clipped him right on the chin, and he was just dead, immediately unconscious on the ground. And it's like, you almost had it. You got excited. You just got excited is all. Hey, congrats to Almeida. You got another one. Let's see if you can do it again against better competition. And unfortunately for Al Hassan, I think this might be a signal to him and possibly the other fight where we're looking at a downward trajectory for them. So we'll see. Good fight though, for as long as it lasted.
Yeah, for sure. Lazy?
Mama, come get that boy. That dude was fucking stiff as a board. He was fucking flattened, bro. Like, that was scary. That was a little bit scary for Al Hassan there. Like, first of all, UFC, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get that guy some medical attention and some assistance, like, immediately. Do not let him sit up on his stool, bobbling around like a wet noodle. Letting him walk out of the fucking cage down the steps, like, as an insurance liability waiting to happen. You need to fucking have some better protocol there. That dude was not in his right mind for several minutes after that fucking knockout. They said when they came back from the commercial break that he was out completely the entire time and for again several minutes. So scary fucking knockout. It's the shot that you don't see coming that really puts you out, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, Al Hassan was going for the kill himself, and I think it was Dave that said Pat Barry Czech Congo-esque, and it really was. It was one of those moments where you're so dead-eye and fucking tunnel-visioned on getting that kill and getting that finish yourself that you put yourself in the line of fire, and boy, did it not fucking pay off. Did pay off for Almeida, who, you know, gets another win here, moves his record up to 7-1. He is 36 years old, though, and, you know, that doesn't mean too much at these upper weight classes, but, I mean, I don't know. His time is limited, and his bag seems to be a bit sparse as far as fucking tools and backup plans. And so it's going to be interesting to see who they match him up against next. If they keep him against this tier of opponent, the you know, Al Hassans of the world, I think he could be a fun fighter moving forward. But you know, we're not going to have a whole lot of time left with this guy, so let's just keep him in fun matchups. Let him be a get or get got kind of guy, and see where it goes.
Yeah. All right. The next one up was, well, it was Christian Rodriguez defeating Austin Bashi by unanimous decision, 29-28 times 3. Bashi, the biggest favorite on the night. He proved that he was very, very good at wrestling, but unfortunately, he's not the early 2000s of UFC anymore, and you need a little bit more than that in this game now. And Christian Rodriguez delivered another harsh lesson to a UFC newcomer. And I'll let, is it Lazy or Austin? Whoever wants it.
Man, fucking Christian Rodriguez, he is what everybody says he is. He's the prospect killer. Like, you're trying to build a guy up, UFC. I don't know what the fuck you're doing, giving him his debut matchup against a guy like C-Rod. You know, looking at it coming in, you wouldn't have thought that there would have been much disparity. I mean, similar records, similar ages. You know, not one guy overly more experienced than the other, but I think it really was the evident skill gap of C-Rod having spent more time and having had more fights in the UFC and facing that level of competition. Like, as cliche and trite as it sounds, it's a different world when you get there, and you're facing a different tier of guys. And you know, Austin Bashi, while highly touted coming in, and believe you me, there was a ton of fucking MMA minds and very bright people in the sport that were super duper high on this guy coming in. He, I don't want to say got exposed, but you know, he got shown to have a very let's say,
Limited game.
yeah. And I was gonna compare him to a Marab, but even worse than a Marab almost. Almost like a Mario Batista against Jose Aldo, like a one-track mind kind of a guy, and just making some boneheaded decisions at times too. Jumping on the back like he was for the body triangle and hanging around up there, burning his fucking legs out. He just needs to kind of get more seasoned, get more experience at this level, and I think he still does have a bright future. But Austin Bashi, dude, you got to start throwing some fucking punches. You can't just fucking win on wrestling. Like, it's not enough. It ain't enough.
Austin?
Well, despite the name and sharing I have with the gentleman, I thought he did kind of let the fight. You know what he did? He played into Christian Rodriguez's game. Christian Rodriguez has this innate ability to drag the fight to his preferred method, which is just making it ugly. I mean, he can grapple, he can punch, but he kind of mixes the two enough to make it harder for newcomers. And especially when you've seen him fight and then you look at a newcomer, this should have just been a writing on the wall. Like, hey, this is probably how it's going to look. And I did not pick him. I picked the new guy because I assumed that either A, his grappling was going to be up to snuff, and then bring in some offensive striking, just enough. Because it's not like Christian just laid out like this, like 10-8, sequence of fights or 10-8 rounds, like for 3 rounds. No, it was a little bit more competitive than I was expecting. And then on top of it too, it's just that there was no adaptation for trying to keep the feet upright for, Austin. And it's weird that we have to say this, but in the UFC, you cannot get by just grappling. Lazy already said that. You have to be well-rounded, and they're going to prefer stand-up guys. And it's interesting that we saw this play from a guy who is coming into the UFC. This isn't going to look good. He's gotta come in with a different kind of game that gives us an idea that, hey, he understood what he did wrong last time. He's going to adapt and try to bring out some striking and just not commit to the thing that he is most comfortable with. And that looked like what we saw with Aljo when he was first coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just specifically looking for grappling exchanges because that is what you win with in the gym, and that is what your coaches are more confident in your abilities in. You cannot deny that his grappling isn't good. The problem is that he doesn't have anything to complement it. And if you can't complement your game with other tools, you're essentially a one-trick pony. Now, he's young. He's capable. I don't see any reason why he can't adapt or get better in other aspects. He doesn't need to be a world class kickboxer or boxer, or even a Muay Thai fighter. He just needs other tools to allow his game plan to work. If you don't have that, you're not going to go far. But I'm optimistic that he can figure it out.
Two last little things that I wanted to throw in real quick. One, shout out to C-Rod for he was doing this feint towards Bashi where he was literally like standing there and stamping his foot like a fucking horse. I never seen anyone do it. It was the fucking coolest thing because it was actually working. Like he was just like standing still and he would stamp the fucking foot, and Bashi was like, he was flinching hard and reacting off it. I was like, that's so cool because C-Rod has like that super chill, like no matter what's going on, he's the most calm, level-headed dude in there. And like it was, I don't know, it just I was like, man, that's fucking cool. And then also with Bashi, if you remember on Dana White's Contender Series, he almost didn't get the contract from Dana despite everyone being super high on this kid coming in because he just grappled. And it wasn't until the very end of his Contender Series fight he finally got the finish. And Dana said in the little thing when he gives out the contracts, if you hadn't have got that finish, you wouldn't have got a contract. I mean, there you go.
I didn't recall that.
Yeah.
All right, well, it was Chris Curtis who stepped into the ring of fire against Roman Kopylov for what was deservedly awarded Fight of the Night. Probably the most interesting and controversial fight of the entire night. Kopylov took round 1, Curtis took round 2, but only after suffering 2 fouls. He took a punch to the groin and then a poke to the eye. We had round 3, Kopylov clearly winning that round, landing heavier punches, snatched a couple of takedowns, and then with about 5 seconds left, landed a really solid head kick that dropped Chris, but it dropped him down. He planted his fists, or his palms fairly straight down. And then as Kopylov stepped back, Mark Smith stepped in to take a look, and he ended the fight right there and then, much to Chris Curtis's displeasure. I guess we have to discuss if it was a bad stoppage. I didn't see what the refs saw. I saw Curtis stop himself off face planted, as I've just mentioned. I saw Roman walk away. And honestly, I think it should have been treated like the fight where Anderson Silva knocked Bisping down. And then he jumped up on the cage celebrating. And the ref should have just stuck back and looked at Kopylov and gone, well, you didn't come in for the kill. The fight should have been allowed to continue until the bell rang. None of it really matters. It changed the outcome of the fight, but not the result. Curtis was going to lose that round, or he looked like he was going to lose that round. It was a 29-28. The judges did have it even going into that round, so Kopylov would have won whatever happened. Bigger question, the one we hear year after year, is the fouls. Clearly affected the fight. I don't think it's unfair to say that they stole a lot of momentum from Chris and gave Roman Kopylov a little time to recover at a time when he was definitely struggling a little bit. TKO result became irrelevant, what was on the judges' scorecards, but had it gone to the end of the fight, it should have been a draw maybe. These referees have to start taking points. Just stop with this warnings bullshit. Take a point every goddamn time. So no specific questions on this, just thoughts on the fights and the Falny situation. Let it go, boys. We've warmed up now.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing: for the fouls need to be, like you said, Mouse, like just be consistent on what you're calling on the fouls. Now he got hit with 2 different fouls, and the fouls work both ways. It gives one fighter the ability to rest, the one who committed the foul, and it gives the other fighter the ability to reset after you've been poked in the eye or hit in the groin. And realistically, it just resets where they were. Is it ideal? No. Both
Power
were
Tan showed you didn't
standing.
need that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's not ideal. I don't believe they were purposeful. So it's not one of those things where it's like, he deliberately raked the guy's eye or he deliberately meant to hit him in the groin. Chris is a shorter guy. This is
Just
weight
quick,
class.
just if I can quickly jump in there. I saw a little bit of Luke's live chat after while the fights were going on, I guess. And someone mentioned or broached the subject that maybe fighters should just be trained to foul strategically. If I'm a bit tired, I'll poke him in the eye. That'll get me a minute or two's rest. I'll kick him with the balls.
I really hate this type of comment because it suggests that we should just be okay with it being like no rules again. We should just be okay with them just literally targeting the groin just because. Like it was no rules when it first started, right? Whatever.
Yeah,
Fuck it. They're men. They're fighting for money. Who gives a shit?
Even
This is a
then, you weren't
sport.
allowed to poke people in the eye. I'll just point that out.
I mean, we were close to it. God forbid. I mean,
not
the
so far.
UFC themselves is kind of like a victim of this because they don't really have a mechanism to enforce other than the refs and the commissions. And even then, half the time they're arguing against their fighters' interests on what is, deemably responsibility, right? And I'm just gonna say this. I think it's just it's getting tired. And I hear it on MMA fighting all the time where they're like just talking about, oh, just cheat, just cheat. No, man, it's a fight. Shit happens. You throw a kick because the other guy moves at a certain angle and he gets hit in the groin. Another guy happens to be used to putting his fingers out when he throws a punch. And it's not ideal, but this is just the nature of what you have with the gloves and the nature of kickboxing. And even then, there was I think a moment when they both I don't know if it was this fight or not. Lazy, you might remember more, but there was a warning of clashing of heads. It, this is also the type of fight Chris Curtis likes and usually has. If you've watched him fight at any point in time, there's usually a foul associated in one of his fights. He is used to standing in front of somebody and throwing big haymakers. He is used to being the smaller guy in the exchanges and still throwing back. And I think this is kind of like a two thing. One, Kopylov kind of got away with 2 fouls. I don't think they were purposeful. The other thing is that Christopher Curtis allows his fights to kind of be wonky. It's because of his fight style. He'll take 2 or 3 punches to give a solid punch back. And he just genuinely finds himself in these types of fights a lot, especially in the UFC as of late.
Just again, if I can jump in there, something just popped into mind because I've seen a lot of talk about American football lately. But if a player jumps offside, does his intention matter, or is it just a foul?
It is in the NFL. It is the foul. It doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. Foul's a foul, but that also becomes a call that the ref has, right?
There are certain fouls where intent does matter, but it's the foul ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, like you said, Mouse. I would not be against taking points if fouls occur. You are told when you first enter in the arena in the back by the commission or the referees, right? You're also told again, obey by commands at all times, right? It'd be fine. It'd be fine. Then it would quell. But then you also should add financial penalties to it. Hey, you guys don't want to get money taken away out of your pocket? You already do because you happen to work with the UFC. What's going to stop them from going ahead and doing this? That'd be fine. I'd be okay with it. Let's go ahead and make it harder for them to want to or be unaware of committing fouls. Yeah. Problem is the execution from the refs. That's it.
Yeah, I guess that
as far as the fight,
I don't necessarily see a financial solution to this. I'd rather just, I know it'll play havoc with the scorecards, but just a point for every foul. Poked him in the eye, unlucky.
Yeah,
It's a point.
yeah,
On, you keep
we
giving the notes and out as an accident, but unlucky. It's a point, and it just evens the playing field there
realistically,
and then. Unless you want to start having people faking fouls, of course, like
well,
UK, well, football players,
that's
soccer players, as
this
the
is
US players have it.
this is a whole separate conversation because you can have a whole podcast on fouls,
Yeah.
intentionality, and fines, and what they should, or a system that we have that currently is working, and what we could implement, and blah 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 blah. But fight was fun. Wish Curtis would fight differently. That's it.
Well, the
That's all.
funny thing was that none of us had picked Curtis, and we all wanted him to win in round 2 when he was coming back.
Yeah, that's the kind of fighter he is. As you're watching him, he draws you to his side with his fighting style. He's basically everything Sean Strickland claims he is, in a way.
Yeah.
He's willing to wade into the fire. I don't know, it's a weird thing. But anyway, to get back on topic, as far as the fouls go, I think that the reasonable thing to do is, because I've heard Big John say it and other referees, like Austin just mentioned, you're issued your first warning in the back.
Mhm.
So you're given your warning before the fight even occurs for the fouls. I think that the reasonable thing to do is you get one warning in cage. So basically, you get one strike backstage, you get one strike in the cage. So the first eye poke, nut shot, whatever, you get told, hey, be in
Yeah.
control of your weapons.
Yeah,
If
that's it.
you,
Last warning.
if you fucking any foul from here forward after this first initial foul, you will be deducted a point, no matter if it was intentional, non-intentional, what. We're not even going to discuss that. If you foul them again after this, it's a point every time. You get one, hard fucking warning after your warning backstage. And then after that, it's a point. I think that that's reasonable because it'll do away with all of this fucking, okay, you did a fence grab. Here's a warning for a fence grab. Don't do that again. Oh, now you did an eye poke. Here's a warning for an eye poke. Don't do that again. Oh, a nut shot. You get one warning for a nut shot. Like, come on, dude. All fouls are fouls. So let's just fucking start enforcing the fucking rules a bit more. That's my thing on that. For Chris Curtis, man, he
was
similar to what Austin
heartbroken.
was. What's that?
Said he was heartbroken.
Yeah, oh yeah, and he was fucking pissed. He was furious afterwards. But I'm going to lean into kind of what Austin said here. Chris Curtis has a tendency to put himself in these situations and put himself in these fights where the endings can be weird and fucking wonky. And it's, I don't know if it's necessarily his size or his fighting style. I think it's more he reminds me of an athlete in another sport, like say a basketball player who gets completely caught up in jawing at a particular referee that's on the court. He's got a problem with a certain official, and rather than being focused on the game, he's focused on that official and carrying on a conversation with this official throughout the game. When fouls occur, Chris becomes so distracted and so upset by the foul, or his rhythm gets so offset by the pause that the fight completely changes after that. And that's exactly what happened last night. And I said it on the Discord, like, oh great, Chris has been fouled. He's
Mhm.
going to get distracted now, and the whole complexion of the fight's going to change.
Can
Bingo. That's
confirm. Yeah,
yep.
you did say that. Which is why it should be a point. If you know it's going to distract him. Imagine if he was 3 rounds up, or I don't know, a slightly different circumstance.
It shouldn't matter if he is or isn't fouled. It's his job to stay in control of his emotions while he's in the fight.
Yeah, that's
That's the
ultimately
problem.
what it comes down to is, as a professional athlete, which they are in any sport, you cannot get distracted by anything else going on around you and then blame that outside force for your performance. It is your job to fucking buckle up and fucking hone in on what's going on and just zone out from all the other outside distractions. I don't know if Chris is an overly emotional kind of guy. It kind of seems like he might be, but he too easily lets those outside forces distract him. A lot like a Marab. Like things going on outside of the fight should not be even remotely getting your attention. You are in a fucking fist fight, brother. Like you are in what you should be envisioning as a battle to the death. You should have no time to focus on outside antics. So if you get fouled, whatever, so be it. You got to fucking zone in when the fight kicks back in. So that's on Chris to me. The stoppage, was it weird? Sure, it was a little bit weird, but I'm more of the mindset that we don't see what the referee sees when
Yeah.
he's in there and in the cage. And within that moment, that split second, when Chris got knocked down and he's trying to get up and he's down there on one knee and he turns his head and he looks at Mark Smith. Mark's seen something in those eyes that said, he ain't right. So it ain't his job to be concerned about, is there 1 second on the clock? Does Chris deserve an honorable ending? No. He's seen something in that dude's eyes that was like, and he fucking called that shit. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said at the start of the thing. It's down to what the
Yeah.
referee sees.
It's the same in boxing. It's the same in boxing. They're not looking at the clock. They're there for the fighter's safety.
Yeah, it was more the fouls, the annoyance how the fouls affected the fight that annoyed me. But anyway, we start with this was the first fight on the main card. Punahele Soriano, whose walkout track was the worst song I've ever heard. Walking in the Air by Alid Bloody Jones from the Snowman Christmas thing. With a choice like that, he deserved to melt. But he took on Uros Medic in a welterweight bout, and the Snowman lover didn't melt under the heat. A step through straight right, landed cleanly on the doctor's chin, and it was off to A&E for Medic after just 31 seconds of round one. Anyone want to say anything on this one?
I don't got a whole lot to say on this fight. I'll just say that, I didn't see it happening like this. I had my doubts about Puna at this weight class. I thought that the cut was really going to be kind of hell on him because he's not a small guy. He's a big, thick dude. So, he always possesses the ability to put a guy out like this. He's a powerhouse. So, wasn't too surprised, but also wasn't the result that I saw coming in.
Doubt him now. Doubt him now. Ninth Island, baby. I was the only one that picked him, so I feel vindicated. What is that meme of
Did you
Andre
pick him?
Braulter? Oh yeah, 100%. I was not even questioning it. I even said this in one of the videos I did with Larry. He was one of my welterweights to watch out as a future contender. He was stuck, which is weird to say. I know. Before you rake me over the coals of that one, he was a similar situation to Chris Curtis as a shorter middleweight who struggled against better strikers, and now he's at welterweight, who it is almost like a rebirth of his career, implementing wrestling when he wasn't doing it a whole lot before, and now his power has more meaning at this weight class. I'm excited to see what he does next.
I saw Larry's apology to you on the Discord.
I know. That's why I was like, yes, I was laughed at both by Dave and Larry, and I feel vindicated now.
You didn't have him on your draft, though, did you? So let's go on to the prelims now.
Okay.
We had the opening fight was Nurullo Aliev defeating Joe Selecki via unanimous decision. Absolutely nothing controversial. Let's jump on to Fatima Klein defeated Victoria Dudakova by second round TKO, 4 minutes 27 seconds. This was the second fight of the prelims, and Lazy gets his Archangel in the 115-pound division. Our first match on the Just Bleed Radio draft. I always get my Dakota talk, and I bet Lazy's bed was burning for this fight, so I'll just let him take it away.
You can't see me, but I'm pumping my fist, baby. Let's fucking go. Archangel in the fucking house. This is what I'm fucking talking about. This is what we were all waiting for. This is what everybody knew she was capable of. I don't want to hear anybody talking shit about Victoria Dudakova ain't that good or nothing like that. She was a fucking perfectly fine matchup. Fatima Klein just went in there and she showed what she could do when she's fighting at her natural weight class, not on short notice, not at elevation, not against a big, fat, weight bully, dirty cheat like Jasmine Jazz Deducius.
Oh my god.
Screw her. Blame Canada. Anyway, this was a fucking a real showing, a real just example of what Fatima Klein is capable of. And this is just scratching the surface, boys. We got so much more to come. We got plenty ahead in 2025. Expect a heavy dose of the Archangel throughout this UFC season. And expect lots of W's and lots of finishes because she is going to help me skyrocket to the top of that JBR fantasy leaderboard. That's a fact. And then last thing that I want to add is Victoria Dudikova, get your nasty staph-infected blood off of Fatima Klein.
Oh my God.
Austin, anything on this one?
No, it's just my only takeaway is that she looked good. She looked good, looked capable, like he said. Lazy's girl happened to just run over this Russian. But no, hey, I picked against her, so what do I know?
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't. I did pick Klein, so yeah, I can be more enthusiastic than you. Yeah, Dominic Cruz very complimentary about Klein being a step ahead in all those transition. I did notice she landed that lovely sweeping thigh throw that's got her to top position and started the beginning of the end. All I'll say for Lazy is it's lucky that she fights at strawweight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Hey man, those elbows on the ground, those look like Dakota on the feet. Those are nice.
Yeah,
Slicing elbows.
Dakota got elbows too.
Yeah.
Bruno Lopez defeated Magomed Gadiyazulov via unanimous decision, 29-28, all three. Nesta Karakaite, defeated Nicole Cagliari via split decision. Women's flyweight fight, so of course I'm looking for talent that Dakota may have to face. And funnily enough, Lazy did compare the eventual winner, Nesta, to Dakota. He said that she was like a Dakota with less killer instinct and less accuracy. Oh, and worse defense. Yeah, bit harsh but fair. I did rewatch the fight, and I did hear Cruz and Bisping saying she hasn't had that much experience at fighting. So I think she's got possibility in the future. Give her some time to get good first. But it was mainly the scoring on this one that made me take note because I think every one of us had it 29-28 in the Discord, and then one bell end of a judge gave Cagliari 2 rounds. So, and appropriately enough, that judge was Mike Bell. So I'm going to nominate him as Just Bleed Radio's first bell end judge of the year contender. And next up, Jacoby Smith defeated Preston Parsons via first round KO, 1 minute 13. And damn it, this house is on fire. It's another one of Lazy's draft picks. Take it away, sir.
Let's fucking go. Let's
God damn
fucking
it.
go. Sound the sirens. I said it, baby. The Oklahoma Twister is coming through. We're fucking blowing this shit down. I mean, it didn't take a rocket scientist to know coming in that Jacoby Smith is a fucking blue chip talent. Clearly, anyone that's fucking looked into him, looked into his background, heard about him coming up, he's got all the fucking tools. National champion, multiple time D1 All-American wrestler, Oklahoma State Cowboys, spent time training at AKA with fucking DC and Javier and everybody up there, switched down to fucking Fortis MMA and down in Dallas and Safe Sayud, the general. Just a great team behind him, a great group of people surrounding him. You can't say enough good stuff about this kid. He's one of those guys where he has an entire skill set and an entire fucking toolbox that we haven't even really got to witness yet because nobody could stand up to his fucking punching power. The guy's not even a striker. He's got no background in striking. That's not what he fucking does. But he's going out there and he's fucking knocking everybody out. It's fucking phenomenal young talent. Can't wait to see what he does because, as I said with Fatima Klein, this guy's gonna help me skyrocket to the fucking top, baby. I'm riding this rocket. We're taking it all the way. Jacoby Smith, just fucking awesome. Love it.
Yeah, you're out of the blocks quickly, sir. Anything to add on that one, Austin? I think we're all impressed with that one, I think.
Oh no, yeah, I picked him because of, like Lazy said, his background. I was acutely aware of his capabilities, but to see it play out in live fashion on the big stage, realistically, against a decent opponent as well. I mean, credit to Mark Smith. I think that fight was not going to need to be going forward past that point. So, hey, Mark Smith is consistent with his early stoppages. I'll give him that. But, hey, Jacoby looked good. Can't wait to see him fight again. Damn you, Lazy, for picking him.
All right. Thiago Moises defeated Trey Ogden via unanimous decision, 29-28 on all three judges' cards. Only notable for a musical pun I made on the Discord about... no, never mind. In fact, we'll skip over that one. I can't remember exactly what I said. That's the problem. Not much to say about that one, really, and we're out of time almost. Marco Tullio defeated Iho Prateria via first round TKO, 3 minutes and 4 seconds. He landed an early nut shot with a nasty knee, giving the UFC its first foul of 2025. Action started again, and Tullio clipped him with a right hook that looked rather like a hit to the top of the, or rather by the top of the hand, and then he just never let up. Looked like a left hook thrown underneath the body on the ground that knocked Prateria out. And anyone want to say anything on this one very quickly?
First of all, Ihor Prateria still cursed from wronging Shogun Hua in his retirement fight. So he's still facing the curse from that. Tullio, big props to him for going public with dating Big Norma Dumont. A relationship that apparently had been going on behind the scenes, but Norma hadn't gone public with it. But Tullio, he seemed pretty adamant about letting the world know that he's dating Big Norm. Made sure that Fabiano, the translator, got that one out there. So shout out to Tullio for that. But yeah, I don't really like Pateria, so he just fucking gets what he deserves.
Oh God! I mean, come on. It was the UFC's problem for putting him in that position. That's not fair. He just fought. The dance was his fault, though. That's it. That's the thing. He's just unlucky, man. He's depending on his chin too much, and when he gets hit hard, he usually loses. It's unfortunate too because he's a big guy. Came down from light heavyweight to middleweight and still getting knocked out. It's not looking good for him. If I was him, I'd start putting feelers out for other promotions, and sooner rather than later.
I nearly forgot double fuck him because he missed weight too. Piece of shit.
Oh,
He's already lost, Lazy. He's fine. Let him just let him walk off into the sunset. Come on.
Let him hail some abuse there. That's deserved. Felipe Bunas defeating Jose Johnson via submission, armbar, round 1, 2 minutes 4. Austin, do you want to take this one away? Because I think I was rushing and I've run out of notes here.
No worries. Hey, shout out to him because he did the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z. If you know, you know. Looked good and finished pretty strong. Can't complain. Guy looks good.
Lazy, anything on that one?
Oh yes, I do. On this one,
I'll Elmer Fudd there.
I gotta give a shout out to our guy Crossover MMA and his pal S Dog, who I believe his name's Sterling. I was watching one of their live streams earlier in the week, and they were doing breakdown for this card and some predictions. And S Dog there was hosting, and he likes to imbibe on a few adult beverages throughout the broadcast. He might have been a little bit lubricated, but he was pronouncing some names kind of interestingly, and in one way or another, Felipe Bunes turned into Flappy Buns. So shout out to Flappy Buns for getting the W here.
Wow, what a way to finish too. All right, that was the fight that took us into the main event, but it just takes us into the scoring for the card. I think Lazy had the most invested in this card, so he should lead us off.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't think that anyone can really object to the fact that this was a surprisingly good card, a card that exceeded expectations coming in pretty fucking greatly, because I for one did not foresee all these fucking finishes. Finishes that did ultimately fuck me out of extra fantasy points, because my two fighters should have got Performance of the Night bonuses, but they didn't.
The
Besides
UFC
that,
was very stingy on the bonuses. There were so many knockouts
yeah,
that deserved it.
kind of ridiculous. But
Good.
nevertheless,
I don't need you to be ahead more than you already are.
hey, I don't want to
Also
hear it from
true.
you. You got a shot next week, Austin, at like 90 points potentially, so I don't want to fucking hear it. But yeah, it was a fun card. I mean, we had some good results. I didn't really care less about the main event or the co-main event, but there was some fun fighters sprinkled throughout that produced good results. So, optimistically, I'm gonna give this a nice 8. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Austin?
No. Lazy said everything pretty much to a T. Didn't have a whole lot of expectations for this card. This card was actually a lot more fun than it needed to be, and it just proves again why sometimes you can't really have a whole lot of negative connotations with the Apex. It's just there to facilitate fights. You don't need to watch every single fight, but at least tune in for the main card at a bare minimum, right? Is
Yeah.
this card delivered way more than it should have? I'd say it's a 7.5 for me. I'm not gonna give it an 8 like Lazy because he's winning, so fuck you. but hey, I'll see how I look next week. But hey, it was a good card. Can't complain. 7.5 for me.
Okay. Well, that leaves. I was when Laser was talking there, I thought optimistic 8. Yeah, that's not bad. My original thought was 7.5, which Austin already had or was just said. So screw it. I'll stick with the tradition and go 7.75 and split the middle of those two. But I did ask Dave before the show. I did ask Dave before the show if he wanted to briefly tell us what his score was. So what was it, Dave and Chatri? Let us know.
It's an 8.
Okie dokie.
Let's go.
Yeah, it wasn't a winner on names, but it did have great action. I certainly enjoyed rewatching it for today's show. 9 out of 14 finishes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that just about wraps everything up on this fiery return from the UFC. Now, listeners may or may not have noticed a number of song titles or plays on song titles related to fire. I think there are about 7 or 8 in this thing. List them in the comments if you can find them. Forgive my dark humor. It is sort of a tribute. And on a very serious note, best wishes to anyone and everyone who's been affected by the terrible fires in California. Thoughts and prayers, and may your God go with you. And that's it from all of us here at Just Bleed Radio. DangerMouse, LazyBed, Austin, Dave, and Chatri will all return next week for the first UFC pay-per-view event of the year, UFC 311, where Islam Makhachev will attempt to defend his belt and become the most successful lightweight champion of all time by beating Arman Tsarukyan. See you guys.
Before we go, I'd like to see if LazyBed has anything to say more about how well he did on the draft, or remind us of his how well he's doing before we get out of here.
Damn it.
Oh, well, I did score a whopping 50 points. Oh, wait, did I score more than that? Larry's gonna love this.
This probably won't make the podcast.
That's fair. You're street. I am literally one fucking Karen away from getting fucking sued. That's fair.
I'm also blaming Uber for driving me to Old Fashions because I quite like them there.
That's fair. I had one this morning.
I'll have another drink and try again. It's a good one for the bloopers reel.
That's fair.
Do it! Do it! Remember, it's just a bad dream, bad boy. Ow! No!